Here I am for my second visit to Hyde Park on River Street, May 16th, Saturday. And we'll see what people who are coming down the sidewalk think about our PDR button, which says, "Let's remove the rich from power, have real, not fake democracy, with no rich and no poor." So here's the button, take it and give it a read and tell me what you think.
I agree with that. Everyone should have equal rights and have all the equal amount of money.
Thank you.
Nobody should be in that 1% taking over everything.
Thank you. The reason I'm making this video is to let the public see that even though you never see people like you on radio and television saying what you just said is what most people think. And I want people to know that if they feel the way you do, they're in the majority, not the minority. Do you have a second for another question or two?
Yeah.
One question is, most people think that this is a good idea to remove the rich from power and have real, not fake democracy with no rich and no poor, but they also think it's impossible. What do you think?
It'll be hard to do, but it's not impossible.
Okay. Do you think that, I mean, I told you that most people feel this way. Did you know that before I told you?
No.
Okay, well, so that's an interesting... The more people know that they're in the majority, I think they'll be more hopeful that we can do this. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. Could I ask you another question?
Yeah.
Now, the reason I'm asking this question is because the mass media have tried to divide Americans against each other on the question of same-sex marriage by making it seem that the people who are against same-sex marriage are terrible people, that they're bigots, and that their only reason is that they want to make life worse for gay people. What do you think about that?
Everyone should have the right to do whatever they want. I mean, you shouldn't... People who are different and are gay or anything like that, they should have the rights to be with other men or women.
Now let me ask you, I mean, I understand your opinion, it's a reasonable opinion. What about the opinion that the people who are against same-sex marriage are terrible, bigoted people? Do you feel that way?
I mean, they're not terrible, it's just they have different views, and everyone has different views, so...
Okay, could I tell you what the main argument that the anti-same-sex marriage people who have sponsored the state referenda, against same-sex marriage, what their main argument is, and then ask you your opinion of it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now you may not have ever even heard this opinion before, so it might be a new one. The argument that they give against same-sex marriage is this. They say that every child should have the opportunity to know and be known by its biological mother and father, the way a child is raised by its parents the traditional way. And that the problem with same-sex marriage is that it promotes the practice of, say, two women going to a sperm bank and producing a child who will never know its father, or two men, renting or buying an egg from a woman, and the child will never know its mother. And that's not fair to the child, that the people who are doing this, the reason they say that two women go to a sperm bank is because they want a biological connection with the child, but they're denying the child that biological connection with its father. And that the argument would say that the needs and welfare of a child should trump the desires of adults. Do you think that's a reasonable argument or a bigoted argument?
I mean, it can go either way. I mean, some of the points that they made are good, that you should know your parents. But then again, on the other side, if two women go to the sperm banks, they should be able to do whatever they want. They can raise their child their way and make it as their own kid. And
so, okay, so that's your opinion. If the debate about same-sex marriage were about whether the needs of a child in this case are more important and should therefore, make same-sex marriage illegal, or whether a child is not hurt that much, and so same-sex marriage should be legal. If that was the debate, and there was no calling of people bigots and saying that people were against equality and so forth, do you think it would be a more respectful, productive debate?
I'm not really sure.
Yeah, okay. Do you have any questions for me?
No.
Okay, we got a webpage on the button. You can have the button, gdrboston.org, and I think you'll find it interesting. Thank you for participating. Thank you. Goodbye. So I just gave you the button, which you have. You want to give it a read and tell me if you think it's a good idea or a bad idea? I want to stand close because the microphone is in the camera.
Yeah, I think it's good. You should, remove the rich from power.
So you think it's a good idea. What about the idea of no rich and no poor?
Well, there has to be some type of standard. There's going to be some people higher than others, but it should be changed differently.
Okay, we on our webpage we talk about egalitarianism, which is the name we give to the society where there's no rich and no poor, and one of the features that makes it that way is that it's not based on money. It's based on people who contribute reasonably to the economy, sharing according to need with other people who contribute reasonably. And so there's no rich and there's no poor. There's not even money. It's some people might have more needs than others. They might be sicker and need more health care. They might have a larger family and need a larger house, but they're not richer. They just have more needs that they have a right to take what they need. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Could I ask you, do you think it's possible or impossible to remove the rich from power and make a good society?
It might be a little impossible because like I said, they're higher up. So they're higher up. So it's gonna be hard, but I think we can do it.
And is your reason for being at least a little bit hopeful? Is it because you think that a lot of people feel this the same way you do? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I wonder how many people do know what I think is the fact, which is that a majority of Americans feel the way you do. We're trying to make videos like this so people can see, not just wonder, but really see that lots of people feel the same way. So people will see you and say, hey, a random person coming down the street, and they agree. That gives people confidence. Do you have time for one more question?
Yeah.
Okay. This question I'm asking. A lot of noise on this street, isn't there? In my opinion, there has been a big attempt by the rich to divide Americans against each other to make us more controllable in several ways. And one of the ways is by dividing people against each other over this question of same-sex marriage. And the way they do it is that in the mass media, they only allow two positions to be heard. And if you're in one camp, you're made to look with utter contempt on the other camp. And in my opinion, the real debate about same-sex marriage would be one in which people would be discussing a tough judgment call, and there wouldn't be this contempt for the other side. There might be disagreement, but it wouldn't be, you're a bigot because you disagree with me kind of discussion. So do you know anyone who is opposed to same-sex marriage, and why?
No.
No, okay. Have you heard the main argument that the anti-same-sex marriage organizations give for being against it? Would you like to hear it, and then tell me what you think about it? Okay, surprisingly, has nothing to do with the Bible. The argument goes like this. They say that every child should have the opportunity to know and be known by its biological mother and father, the way a child raised by a traditional family does. And the problem with same-sex marriage, they say, is that it promotes the practice of say, two women going to a sperm bank and producing a child who will never know its biological father. Or two men getting a woman's egg by buying it, and the child will never know its biological mother. And that's not fair to the child, because it means that the adults who say go to a sperm bank instead of adopting, the reason they do that is because they want a biological connection between at least one of the women and the child. But they're denying that same biological connection between, to the child, because the child will never know its father. And so that's the argument. And so let me ask you, do you think that argument comes from bigotry? No, neither do I. But when people who listen to the liberal, radios and TVs hear about people who are opposed to same-sex marriage, what they're told is, oh, those people are horrible people. They're bigots. They're against equality. They just want gay people to not enjoy the same benefits that other people can enjoy because they hate gay people, and that creates this divisiveness. So, do you think what I'm saying makes sense? Is it?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you have any questions for me? No? Okay, the button is yours. It has a web page, pdrboston.org, on it, and if you want to, you can read a lot of interesting stuff there about it and stay in touch. Thank you. Goodbye. So what do you think about the button?
Yeah, remove the rich from power. That's true.
Good idea, huh? Thank you.
Money, and they should let us get our taxes lowered and all that because they don't pay any.
So you think we should remove them from power?
If they don't do their job right, yes.
Okay, well, their job is to keep things unequal, so they stay rich.
I know, and then we stay poor, right?
Yeah, that's why we say remove the rich from power, have no rich and no poor.
Yeah, like all these senators and stuff that go in and do these jobs, and then who gets stuck with paying the taxes? We do, and they don't. They get tax breaks, we don't.
The button also says let's have real, not fake democracy, because I think this is a fake democracy, because ordinary people don't have any control compared to the billionaires.
Well, of course not.
Yeah.
Because we don't have money to back ourselves up with.
Now your friend here, let's see what she thinks. She has a button, right? There's a button.
But the one thing I want to say, I am disability now.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I feel better now, right?
Yeah, but
and then I applied the job, but they look like they don't want to hire me because they might not, I can do anything. But they said Social Security, if you can work, you can work. But I tried to apply, but right now I don't hire already.
Now,
so I need a job a little bit, because my disability benefit is not enough, you know that.
Now, in an egalitarian society, that's what I'm for,
Yes.
where there's no rich and no poor,
Yes.
one of the main things about it is that people who agree and who are willing to work reasonably, depending on their age and their health and everything, share equally with all other people in having a right to take products and services from the economy according to need and reasonable desire.
Sure.
So that sounds like a good idea to you?
Yeah, sure.
So you think this button's a good idea, right?
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
And then you can find me if you need my phone number. I will give it to you soon.
Oh, okay, I'll tell you what. I'll give you my card, and
give me your card.
And you can phone me or email me. Do you have a computer?
No, I don't have a computer. I'm gonna call. This is phone number.
That's got my phone number, so you can give me a call and we can
I
talk.
call you,
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Do you have time for another question or two?
No, I don't have any question. I don't have to think about that because right now I apply my citizenship. I have interview next week, so soon I be a citizen.
Good. I hope you succeed.
I need to vote. I want to vote.
Yeah.
Then you can get some of the bad people that are reach out. Right?
As I say to people when I talk about voting.
Yeah, I want to vote. Every time they say, honey, when you gonna vote? I'm not a citizen already. So when I am a citizen, I have to vote.
The problem is that the people with real power, the billionaires, they were never elected, so you cannot unelect them.
I judge what I want. I know who is good or not.
Now let me ask you, if you don't mind. Do you think it's possible to make a good society and to remove the rich from power and have real, not fake democracy? Do you think that's possible?
Yeah, it's possible that you're gonna do something that is better than not good, you know?
And-
what is the best thing that
and
they good, you
Is
know?
the reason you think it's possible because you think that that's what most people want to do, or do you have a different reason?
I can answer that because I don't know much what's going on, you know? I am a small.
Okay, a lot of people,
yeah.
let me ask your friend,
Yeah.
what do you think? Is it possible to remove the rich from power?
If everybody gets together, like Credo, how they get all those things signed on,
Yeah.
maybe.
Okay, do you think that it's a majority who want to remove the rich from power this way, or a
Yeah,
minority?
and we probably don't know how to go about it because
But you think it's a majority?
what people that need to help.
No, that want to do.
Yeah, I do actually. A majority is a whole bunch, yeah, but they maybe like me, they don't know what to do.
Okay, well that's very interesting because you never see people saying this on radio and TV. So.
Oh, I never heard them. I don't think we have a chance to because we don't have a voice.
So let me ask you, this is an important question, I think. You said you think that it's a majority who feel this way, and I agree.
Yeah.
But what is the reason why you think it? That it's a majority? How do you know? What makes you think so?
Because there's a lot of people like her, right? You said the rich are getting money.
Yeah.
She's on Social Security disability, and they cut the budget, and then she has nothing, and people, you know, like me are trying to survive too, can't do it.
Okay. This is interesting. Let me
It's not
change.
fair.
Let me change the question a little bit. Do you have time?
Yeah, okay.
Time? Okay. I believe that the rich stay in power by doing two things. One is they try to make people feel hopeless about being able to change it, so that people, don't try. And the other, this is what I want to talk about. They pit people against each other. They divide and rule. And one of the ways they do that is with this issue of same-sex marriage. They get people on each side of the question to view the people on the other side not just as people who have a reasonable disagreement, but as people who are really terrible, awful, bigoted people in the case of people, the ones who are for same-sex marriage are told that the ones who are against it because they hate gay people, they're bigoted, they're against equality, and so forth. So my question is, do you know anyone who's opposed to same-sex marriage and what their real reason is?
But I wonder myself.
Here, I don't know much in here. I hear that in California.
Okay,
But
well,
in here in Massachusetts, I don't know much.
would you like me to tell you what I know, which is what the reason is that the organizations that oppose same-sex marriage give for opposing it?
Yeah,
Would you
why
like-
not?
Would you like to hear the reason?
Yeah.
Okay. The reason, and this will come as a surprise maybe to people who are living, with the
Right.
liberal area, has nothing to do with the Bible. Absolutely nothing. The reason is the following. First of all, they say, and I agree, that a child should have the opportunity to know and be known by its biological mother and father, the way children are who are raised in traditional families. And that to deliberately deprive a child of that opportunity is wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Do you understand?
I understand. This is they have in the published already. Now in the law now, sex marriage we can marry that. I think here in the Massachusetts.
Right.
Yeah, but why not? Doesn't matter.
Here's the connection. Here's the
Yeah.
connection between
Yeah.
same-sex marriage and
Sex
what
marriage
and
is-
what I said about children knowing their biological mother and father.
Yeah.
The connection is this, and this is why people oppose same-sex marriage in these organizations that are against it, is that same-sex marriage promotes the practice of, say, two women going to a sperm bank and producing a child with a sperm from a man, and the child will never know its father.
Yeah, that's sad.
Or in the case of two men, they can buy an egg from a woman and produce a child who will never know its mother.
That's kind of sad.
And that's why the people in the organizations that have been organizing against same-sex marriage say it's a bad idea. And now, in my opinion, I first of all, I think that makes a lot of sense. But even if you disagree with that, it's not coming from bigotry
No.
or hate. It's coming from a concern for children.
Yeah, I think so.
And if people disagree about whether same-sex marriage should be legal or not, and the one side has a concern for children and the other side says it's not that big a deal, at least the two sides should recognize that this is a judgment call that good people can disagree about. And stop this, you know, you're a bigot, you're a hater, you're against equality, you know, because of how you feel. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does.
Does that make sense to you?
Oh yeah, but you know, this is not nothing new. But this is already say that they allow to marry the sex married that. So why not? You know, that's life. You know, this come for the people that like that. They come, for example, to you. You come, you're gay. You like the same yours. So we got married. So,
Okay, just to extend the conversation.
yeah. So
Let me respond to your question, because you
Yes.
were asking questions to me.
Yes.
So let me answer them.
yes.
What would you say about if the same argument were made? You know, if two people want to get married, hey, let them get married.
Hey,
okay,
yeah.
what would you say if the two people in question were a brother and a sister?
With the brother and sister.
Hey, they want to
today.
get married and have a baby. Why not? Would you?
Why not? Yeah, so I can.
But
do
you know why we have laws against brothers and sisters marrying?
Yeah.
Because there's a harm, a risk of harm,
Yes.
genetic harm
Yeah.
to the child.
Mhm.
And so we have laws against that.
Yeah.
We also used to have laws against people getting married if one of them had syphilis, the disease.
Yeah.
That's why it used to be you had to get a blood test to get a marriage certificate in most states. And the reason was not because anyone hated people who had syphilis, it was because we didn't want children to be born with syphilis.
Oh, I wouldn't either.
So that's a reason why we do have laws that say that certain people cannot marry. You know what I'm saying? It's not.
Yeah. So anyway, I had to say bye because.
Okay.
So nice to talk to you.
A
And
pleasure
then where
talking
you
to you.
came from? That.
I'm from Brighton.
Brockton. Okay.
Brighton.
Brighton.
Brighton. Very, very far away.
Oh yeah, so nice to talk to you, and I'm glad that you talk with my friends.
Good.
Okay?
Well, it's nice to meet you. It's
So
a
thank
pleasure.
you very much. Say hi
And-
to.
And you have my telephone number.
Yeah, I
What's
got it.
what's your name?
Annie.
Annie. Nice to meet you,
All
Annie.
right, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Would you like my card?
Yeah, all right.
Here.
Thanks.
And you got the button, right?
Yes, I put it
Great.
on the
And the web page is on there too.
It's on here.
You'll find it interesting.
Okay, thanks.
Take care. So here's the button. Would you like to take it?
No,
Okay. What do you think? Good idea or bad idea?
it's not going to happen.
But tell me if you think it's a good idea or a bad idea, even if it won't happen.
It'd be a great idea, but it ain't going to happen.
Okay. Would you like the button?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
My opinion is, if you try for it, it can happen. But you have to go for it. That's the only way it can work out. You have to force yourself to something that you want. If you don't fight for that, you're never gonna get it. At least try. You ain't gonna waste your time because you're gonna try to get something else that you never tried before, and you're gonna say, wow, it's really happening. It's gonna take a little bit of time, it ain't gonna happen just like that, but it's gonna happen.
Thank you. So here's the button. It says, let's remove the rich from power, have real, not fake democracy, with no rich and no poor. Is that a good idea or a bad idea?
Good to me.
What?
That sounds good to me.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Good. A lot of people think so. In fact, I think it's a majority who agree with this.
You're probably right.
Do you think it's possible for us to do it?
Yes, I think anything's possible.
Good.
Yeah.
Do you have a second for another question? Which, yeah, I think that the rich stay in power by doing a number of things to control people, And divide and rule is one of the main things. And one of the ways that they divide and rule us is by, with this issue of same-sex marriage. They've orchestrated, in my opinion, a phony debate in which each side views the other as being a terrible, awful, evil person who shouldn't be allowed to have any say in society. And so, the people who are for same-sex marriage, are told that the people who are against it are people who are bigoted and hate gay people and just want gay people to have miserable lives. So here's my question to start with. Do you know anyone who is opposed to same-sex marriage and why they are?
Probably. Yeah, I do know people that are opposed to it.
And have you
But
talked to them
it's
about
their
why?
opinion,
What?
which they're entitled to.
Right. Have you talked to them about why? Do you know why they're opposed to it?
It's just a personal thing.
Okay. Would you like me to tell you what? And a lot of people don't know this because the mass media don't tell us. The reason that the main organizations that are opposed to same-sex marriage, what their reason is? Here it is. You might be surprised to hear that it has absolutely nothing to do with religion or the Bible. The reason is this. They say that same-sex marriage promotes the practice of, say, two women going to a sperm bank to produce a child because instead of adopting, because they want to have a biological connection between the child and at least one of the women. But in so doing, they are creating a child in a method that deliberately prevents the child from knowing and being known by its biological father. And they say that no child should be deliberately deprived of that, and that the needs of the child come before the desires of adults in this situation. Now that is an opinion which you may or may not agree with, but would you at least acknowledge that opinion does not reflect hatred of gays or bigotry?
I would agree on that.
Yeah, and yet all we're told is that the people who vote against same-sex marriage are bigots. They hate gays. They're doing it just because they hate gays. They're homophobic is the word, and that creates this division. Where people view each other as awful.
Like I said, it's everyone has their own opinion.
Yeah.
And everyone's entitled to an opinion. So
Yeah.
you can't knock someone for feeling a certain way. I think as long as they're not hurting anyone, they're entitled to their opinion.
Yeah. If the debate about same-sex marriage were not a phony debate, but an honest one, where the mass media was actually reporting what the other side said to each side, then I think what we would have is a disagreement about a judgment call. Whether the harm to the child is sufficiently great to justify not allowing, same-sex couples to marry, and people would at least acknowledge, even if they disagreed with each other about this, that the other person's view was reasonable, even if they disagreed with it. It's similar to we don't let siblings marry because of the genetic harm, but some states and some countries allow first cousins to marry, and some don't. And people could disagree about whether first cousins should be allowed to marry, but I don't think anyone would say that the person they disagree with is a bigot who hates cousins.
Not at all.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. I don't think so either.
That's my point.
It's exactly. And I think it all boils down to just a matter of opinion.
Yeah. Would you like our button, by the way?
Sure.
Here. We have a web page, which I think you'll find very interesting. And do you have any questions for me?
No.
No? Well, thank you very much. Have a good
Well,
day.
you
Take
too.
care.
Okay.